It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Here we are, Monday, 8 days away from when we might know some of the states.
Yeah, when the first states will start reporting.
Look, the only thing people are asking me or you when we're out is he going to win?
Yeah.
Right?
It's all I get.
It's all I get.
All I get.
There is no. Could you analyze to me the economic probability that a tariff on China would cause prices to rise 1% or lower 1%? I'm not getting those questions. I probably will get those questions next year if Trump wins, but not getting them now.
Well, I did get that almost verbatim from my 5-year-old grandson on Saturday, but then he asked me, "Forget that. Do you think he's going to win?" Number 8 is right on it.
Here is last night on Trey Gowdy. Sean Trendy was on from a Real Clear Politics elections analyst and was asked the movement we've seen over the weekend.
Yeah.
Is it really happening? Is it really going towards Trump's direction? Here we go.
All right.
No, I think that's certainly what we see in the polling data that we have. Donald Trump has closed the gap in the national poll average, which is something that never happened in 2016 or 2020. He's leading in polling in the swing states now. This is definitely a race that's been swinging his way. Whether that momentum continues is another story, but so far it's the type of movement that he needed.
So there you go. Now, when we break it down, when you actually break it down, okay, where are we specifically in the polls? Mm-hmm. And I guess we can use the Real Clear Politics, even though there are accurate polls from 2020 that are in there, and accurate and less accurate polling in there, because they count most of the pollsters that we have seen. If you go by the most accurate pollsters of 2020. For that election, that presidential election, Trump is up by a couple of points.
Right. Yeah.
He's probably up 2 to 3 points in there.
Yeah.
Overall, though, if you look at it, because the thing is, that's not important to just cherry pick. You look and say, where is the direction of where all the polling is basically going, or the vast majority of the polling is going.
Right.
And that's what's trending in Trump's favor right now. When you look at it, hang on one second here. For the first time, Trump in the Real Clear Politics poll is actually up nationally by 1/10 of 1 point. Now, you may say, oh, come on, 1/10 of 1 point. You know, what is that? Well, it's a lot more than he's ever been before, just to look at it. And that's why you can actually look at all the polls, say, where's the momentum on it going and how does it compare? 2016 at this point, Clinton was up, like on this day, by the way, that's how they're looking at it, was up 4.6 points.
Yeah.
Biden was up 7.5. This is nationally.
Right.
Trump is up 0.1. And that's just happened in the last couple of days. Remember, just a week ago in the Real Clear Politics average, I think it was down by 0.9 when I last posted that on Twitter. So he's moved an entire percentage point in a week.
Right.
And this has been going on for a couple of weeks now. So the question would be, does it reverse? So far, we haven't seen anything reverse on this. Now, if you want to break down the battleground states, and this would be Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. The Real Clear Politics average, Trump is up in every battleground state. And to give you some comparison, in Wisconsin in 2016, Clinton had a 6-point lead in the polls. In 2020, Biden had 6.4% lead in the polls for Wisconsin. Trump up now, 0.2. Pennsylvania, Clinton was up by 5 in 2016. 2020, Biden 3.8, Trump up a half a point. Ohio, Trump was in 2016 was up 1.3 points. In 2020, 0.6. Now 7 points. That's huge. That's some of the biggest.
Yeah, right.
Some of the biggest movement. No. Michigan. Look at Michigan. Clinton was up by 7 in Michigan in 2016. Remember, she lost.
Right, yes. Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, I think she was ahead in all of those during this week in 2016.
Up by 7. Biden was up by 8.6. Trump is up by 0.2. In Arizona, Clinton was up in 2016, 1.5 points. Biden, 2.2 points in 2020. Trump up 1.5 points. Nevada, Clinton was up at this point in the election in 2016, 1.6 points. Biden was up 4.6 points. Trump up 0.7. For Georgia, Trump was up 2.5. 2020, it was a tie. Trump up 2.3. And finally, Florida, Clinton was up a half a point in 2016. It was a dead heat. It was a tie in 2020, and Trump up now 8.4 points. I do see that they've updated. These are different numbers than I had when we started the show. They've updated it for today.
Yeah, okay.
They went from the 27th to the 20th, because when I came in, I was looking at the 27th. They've got it to the 28th now.
They've got it on the 28th. Okay.
Yeah, so they've moved it because I just realized there were they didn't have the tie for Georgia and Florida when I last read.
Okay.
When I first came in. So,
looking at the national polls, and again,
and that was a tie for 2020.
Right.
Trump's up in both Georgia and Florida, Real Clear Politics.
Right. And you look at the national poll, and you and I don't pay much attention to it, but I do like to look at the movement in polls. And I thought, okay, let's compare pollster to pollster where the movement has been. CBS News, 10-8 to 10-11. Harris was up by 3. CBS News, 10-23 to 10-25. She's up by 1. New York Times, Sienna. This would have been the last few days of September to October. Did I say September? I meant October. On the
you said October.
Okay. New York Times Sienna poll, September 29th through October 6th. She's up by 3. And the latest New York Times Sienna poll listed here at RCP, 10-20 to 10-23. It's a tie. So you look within the pollsters, and you also look at the movement overall with that is across all pollsters, and the momentum is going his way, and there's no other way to look at it. There really isn't. And that has when Fetterman says, the support that Trump has in Pennsylvania is astounding. Well, not really. If you look at the reasons, it's not astounding at all. It's not shocking at all. This is the makings of 2016 2.0 plus steroids, because 2016 was a lot of abstract. If I'm elected, neither one of the candidates, neither one of the nominees had been president. Now he's got a track record that people want to go back to, regardless of whether they like Trump. Take his name out of it. If you ask people, would you like the spending power that you had leading up to COVID? Yes. Would you like a more secure border? Yes. Do you think our enemies should fear us? Yes. We heard this from the people that were talking about Kamala and saying, look, I don't think she's got what it takes to stand up to a Vladimir Putin. All of these things right now that are on the table point in that direction of the two candidates. He's got the momentum. And I just don't know There's nothing, I believe, I can't see anything. If she wins, somebody's going to have to sit down and show me not just what I missed, what everybody missed.
Well, the other thing you need to add into Trump leading in every battleground state is the fact that traditionally he underpolls to begin with.
And that's one thing that you and I talked about.
Yeah.
That's a very critical point, is that he has underperformed. And the reason we go back to 2016 and you look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin and how far ahead she was in those three states and that she lost those three states to Trump. When you look at that, by the way, her internals were showing her that at this point in the election, they do it based on this date back in, and in that case, her internals were already showing the weakness in Pennsylvania and in Michigan and Wisconsin. We weren't privy to that information, but she and her campaign were, and they were very, very worried. And keep in mind, too, that story that appeared about the whole Russian collusion thing, when it finally got to the liberal media, it appeared first on October 30th, which we thought, well, that's really late for an October surprise. But was it the desperation? Were they holding that as their trump card? And then all of a sudden, nope, we're definitely going to float this to the media, because if it turns out if he wins, we're going to take him down. You have to ask all of these questions, because October 30th isn't when you float an October surprise. It needs to be really in that first week of October, so it steeps over and over and over again. And that story was first posted about that whole thing October 30th of 2016. So it has all the makings of them knowing, the Hillary campaign knowing, and then, of course, we know the cancellation of the fireworks display. The celebratory fireworks display happened the weekend before the election. Their internals were telling them she's not going to win.
Well, when you have people like Casey and Tester and others using Trump in their ads in a positive way, and making it clear, not saying we agreed with Trump on this,
right,
or Trump agreed with us.
Stood with Trump.
Stood with Trump. Yes,
not just bipartisan or these words that can be a little more ambiguous. They chose those words carefully, as they always do in a campaign, to say stood beside Trump, stood with Trump. They wanted that imagery of their candidate being right up there on the stage next to Trump.
Plus, we've covered enough political campaigns to know that what happened last week, and even going ballistic, trying to make the absurd relationship between a Nazi rally in the old Madison Square Garden building,
right,
and relate that to Trump. That is such an act of desperation, because it didn't make sense. It's like, well, it's not even the same building.
Right,
it's
right.
It's named the same. It's not the same building. And what's your tie-in? Is it the same date as Trump? No. Well, then what is it? Well, which was just held. Well, so were a ton of Democrat conventions and campaign speeches. Mm-hmm. What's your point? That was such an act of desperation and doubling down on the fascism and Nazi and all that stuff with the Kelly, how that hit, and how, Harris made that special appearance, official appearance.
Yeah.
That was an official appearance.
Yep.
And talk about the fact that he's he's a fascist. That's what campaigns do when they panic. They go to the worst thing that they've ever used, and they use it consistently at the end. The only thing is, it's something that has been used all the way back to the mid-'60s against Republicans, that they're Nazis, whatever, but it was really amped up with Bush. One of the things that I do wonder about, though, in the polling, these are still the questions that I have, and this was the Hill-Emerson, looking at Montana, where Trump is up by 19, but Tester is down by 4. He's up by 4 in that, 50 to 46. Mm-hmm. So what you're trying to tell me is, in Montana, there's a possibility of Trump outperforming the Republican Senate candidate by 15 points. That there are 15% of people that are voting for Trump that will vote for the Democrat Tester in Montana.
Yeah, there's a full 15-point difference.
Yeah, that's, for me.
Yeah, I don't buy that
at
all.
I have questions on that. I don't buy it.
Right. Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, but if that happens, that in itself, we talked about this will be the biggest, if Trump wins, the biggest comeback in American political history. If he's outperforming Republican senators, I don't even know how to process that one.
I don't either, because that wasn't the case leading up until now to a large extent.
866-98 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
In the year 2022, the food we bought at the grocery store went up in price by 11.5% and up another 5% last year. But what about this year?
Grocery prices are predicted to increase by 1.2%.
Very, very low food price inflation. Economist Megan Schweitzer tracks food prices for the USDA. She told us
grocery price inflation has been lower than the overall inflation rate for the past 14 months.
Pushed lower by several factors affecting what we pay for food.
We've seen energy prices decrease by 6.3%. Gas prices, which is a subcategory of energy, is down over 15%. And then prices for unprocessed agricultural commodities, so those raw products off the farm, prices are essentially flat for those products over the year.
For 2025, Megan says it looks like food prices will rise, but only by about 1.5%. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Hey, it's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, let's talk about the coach of Eric's favorite basketball team.
Yeah.
Spurs, there's a headline. Spurs Greg Popovich rails against Trump in lengthy rant. He was asked about it, went on for 15 minutes. He said he's a pathetic individual. He's a small man who has to make everybody around him smaller, so he thinks he's going to be bigger. And isn't that the same thing we tell our kids in grade school? That's not how you act. That's not what you do. After declaring that Harris won their only debate and railing against some of Trump's biggest supporters, including Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, he offered a warning. Now the danger follows the delusion, and our kids and grandkids are going to have to live with the guy that is put in there. Well, at least he was specific on issues, right? He really touched on a lot of different issues there.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of went down the entire run of issues. I don't know what he left out when it comes to issues, except for all of them.
He's an angry man.
He's just an angry old man. Just say I hate the guy. Just say I hate the guy. I'm not voting for him because I hate him. Just say it. Your hatred drives you to this point. Not, hey, he's wrong. He's not going to get the economy right. I don't like his plan on this or that. It's no. They just have to go. This what they're frustrated by is that they don't have a rock star. And as you point out, Trump actually is a rock star based on his accomplishments, things that he's actually done, and they hate that.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. I'm fascinated as to what's going to happen over the next week or not. It's really going to be interesting to see. We had talked about earlier that Bill Maher, saying, well, there's still time, but she needs to get out there and change her mind on DEI, on defund the police, on teachers' unions. It's like, it's not going to happen, dude.
It's just not going to happen.
Wow.
Come on.
I understand that. And, you've got the Wall Street Journal writer saying there's still time for her to say, that, sorry, I lied to you about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
His cognitive state stinks. That's why I'm in here.
Yeah.
It's like, she can't say that.
There was no way she was ever going to say that. I mean, it brings on a full-on official discussion about the 25th Amendment. If she were to say that, because she would be saying that he's not capable of being president now, then the entire world would have to stop. And then she would also she would be admitting, this would be the danger to her campaign. She would be admitting that she was willing to put the nation in danger by not, sounding the alarm on his cognitive state. Everything about that thought is without thought. It's thoughtless. It's anybody who writes that. You're delusional. You're absolutely delusional. There's nothing that's going to change. There's nothing that is going to change.
There's nothing. There is. I don't see. There is no October surprise.
No, there isn't.
I mean, I don't see one. Except self-inflicted.
Well,
by the Harris campaign. But there's nothing. I mean, when they had the John Kelly thing came out, then the week before it was. What was it the week before? Some came out the week before. But it's just none of it really sticks. It's like been there, done that, been there, done that, been there, done that. Even what Kelly came out and said, as was pointed out, I believe was a National Review pointed out saying, this is already out there. He said this years ago.
Right.
There's nothing new here. And so you see it. I want to see if I can find the one audio cut that I had. Here it is. Here is a gentleman. This is MSNBC speaking to voters in Michigan about, Trump being a fascist. Here's a response.
I've heard so much about Trump being angry and he's a fascist and a dictator, but problem is when I listen to him, I don't hear any of that.
There you go. That was on MSNBC.
Yeah.
From yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're just begging people to do their own homework. When you start saying things like, "Oh, it's this is a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden," people start saying, "Oh my gosh, I got to see the clips. There's got to be clips, right? There's some." Man, who knows how many clips there are on YouTube and TikTok of a full-on Nazi rally? And they go to look for them, and it's like, I'm sorry, what? You're begging people. The liberal activist media has done a lot of... This isn't like the martyrdom thing of lawfare. You're drawing attention to something and begging them to fact-check it on their own.
I hear that whenever I hear, Nazi or whatever now. Of course, we've heard it every day for, sitting here with you, Bush.
Yeah.
We've heard it for 4 different Republicans just from working with you, that they're Hitler, they're Nazis. And it's just like, the boy who cried wolf. Eventually, nobody believes you, especially when there's no wolf.
Right.
And when I hear it, to me, my first reaction is a complete lack of seriousness from a campaign who cannot decide what their platform is going to be. And that's one of the criticisms really over the last 2 weeks that even the liberal media has picked up on. Well, we're asking her the questions about what she'll do, and she criticizes Trump. She won't tell us what she's going to do. And eventually, people are going to say, well, how are you going to do it? And how are you going to do it differently from the guy that you're in? Nobody's going to buy the fact that I haven't changed my values at all. Okay, I'm now pro-fracking. I'll be tougher on the border than Trump, and I'll build that damn wall. Well, I can stop there. I don't have to go any further.
Right.
Nobody believes her.
Right.
And at the same time, I haven't changed my values. What?
Well,
or the new one. I plan on following the law. Then ask that question. We're asking you, what's your opinion on this issue? I plan on following the law. That's not the question. The question is, what will you do in this specific case? What is your opinion on the actual issue? Not whether you follow the law. What's your opinion? I will follow the law.
Right. It's, we're at that point, too, of the far left used to be okay with the lies. Okay, you can lie, as long as you win. Go ahead and lie about whatever. She lies about their religion, climate change, when she says, I'm pro-fracking.
Yeah.
And then she lies about the border, about wanting to build a wall, a greater wall than Trump would ever build, because that's racist if you're on the left.
Okay, you ready?
And they don't tolerate that anymore. You can't. We knew this would be her conundrum.
Are you ready for this?
All right, what do you got?
From Madison Square Garden yesterday.
All right.
Okay, here we go. All right.
On issue after issue, Kamala broke it, but I will fix it. We're going to fix it.
Better late than never.
Listen,
we've been saying for the longest time, for a year.
I'm sure our check is in the mail. That doesn't even worry me. I'm sure I'll get paid at some point.
We've been saying that since 2020.
Yep.
Probably.
And that's, again, the truth. I mean, they can't. The left can't fix it. They caused it.
They broke it, yep.
And this is where everybody looks at everything. It was weird because at the Democratic National Convention this year, it was like they wanted you to believe Trump was in office right now.
Mm-hmm.
That she wasn't vice president and had nothing to do with it. This whole thing's been all over the place. When you go back and when history dissects this entire campaign run, and what's different about, today is that we have all of this stuff that's available. It lives on forever on the internet. So you can go through every single day, every single move made by her campaign, and history will. And when they dissect this campaign season, it's going to be like some weird, bizarre movie. It's going to be, that can't possibly be true. I was thinking to myself, actually, if Eric from 2016, 2012, from years ago, woke up and then, okay, you got a crystal ball. Here's Eric, and here are the comments made about the election. Here's you commenting on the election cycle a week out. I'd probably go, man, future Eric sounds delusional because it's so bad.
I know.
But that's kind of where we are. I mean, there's really no other way to look at this, because you at times I'll stop myself and go, Man, that kind of sounds conspiracy theorist kind of.
I know.
This sounds.
Yep.
Well, no, it's all reality of what's going on right now.
Oh, yeah. Come on. In 2012, if you would have gone through what Hillary did to set up Trump, nobody would.
Right.
You'd stop it, guys.
Right.
Just stop it.
Exactly.
In fact, it happened. It's true. It's documented. You tell people, they still doubt that it happened. Come on, nothing like that could ever happen.
Well, because
no, it happened.
There were so many steps in that plan.
I know.
The white paper and then this and then that, and then it all gelled together. And then they got a special prosecutor. It's like, dude, you need to calm down. Drink some decaf.
Yeah.
Get some rest.
Yeah.
Because it sounds conspiracy theory stuff if you were to go back and look ahead of that and then just define and describe how it happened.
And finally, this may be my favorite article, Trump's secret weapon. Of late, many people, this is Douglas McKinnon, opinion contributor, The Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Of late, many people, especially politicians, pundits, and celebrities on the left, have been engaged in agonizing introspection, trying to ascertain why the election has seemed to tip towards former President Donald Trump. In my estimation, much of the reasoning comes down to an example of life imitating art. In this case, the art being the 1986 movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Now, while some of the entitled entrenched elites on the left might ignorantly and snobbishly scoff at such a theory, part of the reason they may soon be on the outside looking in, it has real validity. And it does. Why? There is a scene in the film where Dangerfield, who plays a tough New York City-based CEO enrolling in an elite college to keep an eye on his son, takes issue with a liberal, never worked in the real world economics professor, I love that scene, and explains to him the actual process of starting a business. Almost instantly, every student in the class turns their back on the know-it-all professor, faces Dangerfield's character, and begins taking notes. Trump is the real-life version of that fictional CEO. Back in 2016, tens of millions of Americans turned away from the elites and toward him to jot down notes. The academic, the theoretical, the hoped for, and the forcefully mandated stood no chance against that actual real-world experience. Real-world experience mattered in 2016, and it matters even more now. And we can tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Inflation and the border became real to people.
The reality is what's different. The issues aren't just political issues. They're reality. They're here and they're now and they're every day and they're relentless. They're not going away. In fact, they're getting worse because there is a compounding effect literally on inflation. If we reach the target rate of 2%, that means that prices will still go up at 2% over where they are now. And it has a compounding effect on families when they get further and further behind because affordability right now is the problem.
So if he wins next week, what I want to hear out of his mouth in the first sentence is, I got elected because I'm Rodney Dangerfield. Hey, he doesn't get any respect.
I get no respect.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Can you take it to another level? I mean, when we've asked this question before, when you've basically gone fascist, Nazi, Hitler, Mussolini, who else? Did they go Mao? They go Mao last week?
Yeah, they can't go Dick Cheney because,
It can't go Dick. Yeah, can't go Dick Cheney. Where do you go from that? What's worse? I mean, really, the top of the line is Hitler. You really can't go unless you're going to try Satan. But if you try Satan, that would be the Democratic Party admitting that there's a God.
Right, which they don't really want to do.
And so they can't do that. They can't go to Satan.
Right.
And you may be saying to yourself, Gary, stop being ridiculous. I'm being serious. They're trying to find a level above Hitler.
Right. And
Because-
they can't go because again, this whole thing about Madison Square Garden boomeranged big time. Turnout was massive. And, it's a Hitler rally. Based on what? Well, Hitler was at
another building that had its same name.
It was another building was actually not in the same place even. And because we say he's Hitler.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.